You have the same problem I had, not enough room in my garage. If so, then I have the solution. Hey everyone, Jay here with thedoityourselfer.com. In this video I'm going to be reviewing the plans I used to build this shed. And as you can see, it was getting harder and harder to get my car in the garage. And after almost running over my lawnmower, I decided I needed to do something to take my garage back. Since I didn't want all those things just sitting outside in the weather and looking like an eyesore, my best solution was to have an outside storage shed. And I kind of had an idea of what I wanted. I knew I didn't need anything too big, but I wanted something that looked nice. So I went to a couple places that sell those pre-made sheds. I didn't really find the style I wanted, and I was not impressed with how they were built. They just looked cheaply made with no real character. Some of the ones I looked at were built using cheaper materials like 2x3 studs on 2-foot centers instead of 2x4s on 16-inch centers. The plywood they used was the thinner 3/8 plywood instead of 1/2-inch plywood. On some of the sheds, they also used tiny staples to attach the roof shingles. In my opinion, they were extremely expensive for the quality, not to mention the extra charges for delivering the shed. Then they told me they'd have to drive their big delivery truck across my lawn to get to the spot where I wanted the shed, and that I would have to maneuver it into its final place. I didn't really want any of that. So I decided the best solution for me was to build my own shed. Now, building a shed without a plan can be a real pain. I know, I've done it. Many years ago, I had built a shed without plans. It took several trips to the lumber yard, and it didn't quite turn out the way I had envisioned. So this time around, it made much more sense to go off a good set of plans. After researching for shed plans, I found exactly what I was looking for. Not only did I get these lean-to style shed plans, but I got access to just about any shed plan I could ever need. The lean-to shed plans I used came with a material list, so I printed it out and went to the store. I was able to get all the necessary materials in one trip, saving me lots of time. I did end up building the shed inside my workshop because it's been snowing and raining here for months. So reading through the instructions, I see the plans show the layout and measurements for building the floor. So I cut all the lumber I needed and assembled the floor. After the floor was assembled, I attached the 4x4 skids to the bottom of the floor, and then attached the 3/4 plywood to the top of the floor. Even though I'm building the shed in my workshop, I want to make sure the floor is level in all directions, so I'm able to use my level to plumb the walls as I build them. Then the instructions give me the measurements and layouts for building the walls. So after I build and install the back wall on the floor, I build the side walls, attaching them to the back wall and the floor. After I install the door header, I see in the plans the measurements to make the roof rafters. So I cut one rafter and lay it on top to make sure it's going to work out okay before I cut the rest of them. And once I cut and install the rest of the rafters, the next thing in the instructions were to install the T111 plywood siding. Now because the layout was so good, the plywood edges landed exactly where they were supposed to, right on center. After that, it was time to install the siding on the sidewalls. Then I cut and attached the fascia trim boards so I could get the plywood installed on the roof. Now the purpose of these shed plans is to give you measurements and layout instructions on the basic structure, so they don't really go into great detail about how to install the roofing material. I'm going to be posting extended videos on each segment of how I built this shed. I also created a more in-depth video on roofing basics and how to install asphalt shingles on the shed. So if you've never installed shingles or want to brush up on installing shingles, be sure to check out the upcoming video. Now in this case, I just chose a black dimensional shingle to match my home's roof. After the shingles were installed, I finished installing the rest of the trim boards. And last but not least were the doors. After I assembled the doors, I placed them in the opening so I could attach the hinges and door hardware. Again, the instructions didn't really specify the exact type of hinge or handle, so I just picked something I liked when I was in the store. In this case, black to coordinate with the roof. While these were great plans to follow, a couple things to keep in mind. These plans did not include any design ideas for building in shelves or customizing the storage space. There were also no details for the door hardware, so you'll have to choose something you like and install it. I'm also going to be creating a video to show all the upgrades I put into my shed. I'll be showing how I organized and built my shelves, how I installed the door hardware, and how I added extra ventilation into my shed. To get free access to my upgrade video when it's ready, click the bonus link below. Overall though, I do think the plans were easy to read, and I think the instructions were easy to follow, even for a beginning DIYer. The material list was spot on, so I only made the one trip to the store. Now I couldn't be happier with how my shed turned out using these plans. I love the shape, the style, and look of my new shed. Even with the low-profile design, the shed can easily store a lot of items, making it much easier to park my car in the garage again. Thanks for watching. Hit subscribe, and don't forget to hit the bell to catch my extended build videos.